Coming up on Tech News today, get all of someone's passwords off their iPhone. We'll show you how and tell you how you can avoid that happening to you. Also, Facebook and Google are fighting over buying Twitter. Well, maybe I'm overstating it. You'll find out how much on the show. And Activision has killed Guitar Hero. May it rock in peace.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, February 10th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by MailRoute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free, at MailRoute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Dr. Kiki.
And I'm Jason Howell.
This is the Tech News Today.
Yeah, it is.
As we are recording it.
Not tomorrow and not yesterday.
Our tech news, though, is so fresh. We work so hard to keep it that way that even if you're listening or watching the next morning, it's still fresh.
Like freshly baked cookies.
It maintains its freshness. We seal in the freshness.
It's like a day-old bagel that you're like, this is surprisingly still really good.
Right, exactly. It's like, wow, I flew this all the way from New York in my bag. And now I'm in Los Angeles, and it still tastes
They'll keep. Yeah, it's like that.
Tech News Today, like a day-old bagel.
But
better. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just thinking of all the day-old bagels that I've known and loved. Well, not really loved in the cafes I've worked at through my work history, and they're pretty hard. Hockey pucks. Just not necessarily the best.
Throw us in the microwave for a few seconds.
That's what I was going to say.
That's right.
A little water in a microwave, you've got, it's like going back in time.
That's right. TNT in a microwave. Better than a day-old bagel.
Researchers in Germany have shown how to access an iPhone's passwords to email accounts, voicemail, and VPN without unlocking the phone. They don't even need to know your little passcode. They do have to have physical access to the phone, but then they can jailbreak the device, install an SSH server, copy over an access script, which then uses material available from within the phone to create a key and unlock the keychain.
Holy crap.
So because the encryption assumes that any attacks will come over the network, but since it's on the phone itself, it just hands over the key, says, oh, you're on the phone.
So this goes a step beyond. Let's say my iPhone goes missing, and it's like, oh, no, and maybe I find my iPhone, and that's not going to do anything, and it's stolen, and I decide to remote wipe, which you can do, and you think, okay, well, I'm safe. Well, somebody still could have gotten a lot of information off my phone before I realize it's gone and decide to do that.
Exactly. So these researchers saying pretty much all you can do right now if you lose your iPhone is go change all your passwords.
Or at least any password that would be access, like mail. And
just wildly change all your passwords. Yeah, change any of the passwords that would have been on your device.
Yeah.
For things like mail and VPN and all that stuff.
Well, that's kind of scary. Hold on to your iPhones, everybody.
That's what the people at Fraunhofer SIT do, though. They previously revealed security problems with other operating systems like Microsoft's BitLocker disk encryption. They began selling a Java phone application for securely storing passwords last year. I believe that was for Android. But
so they're like a worst-case scenario. Here's one of the worst things that could happen if someone takes your phone.
They're those kind of people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's good to know what people are capable of and what you need to do in a catastrophic event like that.
Right.
Yeah, and we also hope that that Apple takes the knowledge that's being shared by them and makes updates to their system so that it's more secure.
Yeah, keep that key from being able to be accessed by a simple copying over a script access program. Yeah. All right. Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal both reporting that Nokia is definitely in talks with Microsoft about producing unicorns.
No.
Rumors are getting wilder and wilder. No, this one is saying that they have inside information that Nokia and Microsoft are talking and are likely to partner up tomorrow. I was talking to Paul Thurrott on Windows Weekly today. He thinks that Nokia and Microsoft are going to merge. I think he might need to eat more carbs.
I thought you were going to say I think he might be right. But you're saying no.
No, I don't think they're going to merge.
No, I think that
Microkia?
I mean, what at the end of
Sounds like a
yesterday's
small
show,
frog.
we left it as Nokia might have some Windows 7 phones available.
I think that is 80% likely to happen, 81% even likely to happen tomorrow. There's also the war on Twitter about this, and we have a little insight of why Vic Gundotra and another Google employee may be taking potshots at Nokia. Preston Gralla over Computer World says that Google and Microsoft both offered hundreds of millions of dollars to switch to their operating system, either Windows Phone or Android.
It's kind of interesting that a Google VP, Vic Gundotra, wrote a tweet on the 8th of February, so that was Tuesday, right? And he hashtagged it Feb 11th, meaning he's referencing the announcement tomorrow, and says, in quotes, 2 turkeys do not make an eagle. Which is that reference actually kind of goes back a bit.
Oh, see, I thought this was going to be some genetics announcement on February 11th. From Google.
Well, at first glance, you might say, oh, this is some somewhat cryptic genetics announcement that he's referencing of some conference I'm not going to. No, it's actually, apparently, I mean, according to the folks at Engadget, there's this little sort of ha-ha statement goes back a bit. And it's referencing basically 2 companies getting put together to not make a great product, meaning that Google is clearly not one of the turkeys.
Nokia VP Anssi Vanjoki in 2005 said of BenQ buying Siemens, 2 turkeys do not make an eagle. And then later, Vanjoki said that using Android is like peeing in your pants for warmth.
Wow.
Now he is leaving. Vanjoki is leaving Nokia. He's one of the outgoing executives, but he represented Nokia when he said both those things. So obviously Vic is taking a pot shot at Nokia.
Well, and saying, hey, Nokia, guess who is one of the turkeys in this round? It's not us, but...
I mean, they're no Russ Pitts, but those are some interesting eagle references.
Except that there won't be an eagle, just a couple of turkeys.
Ina Fried over at All Things Digital's Mobilized blog got to sit down with Stephen Elop last weekend and got some good quotes out of him. Said Android is growing very nicely. The combination of Android's existing market share plus the market share that Nokia could bring to the Android ecosystem is a very large number and would signal a very substantial shift in the dynamics of the mobile operating system market. So you could read that 2 ways. One is we would love to be on Android. That would be huge. Another would be it's too much of a shift. We're going to stay away from Android. About Windows Phone, he said Windows Phone is in its early formative stages in terms of getting customer traction and so forth. It's a beautiful product. And I say that as someone who is competing with it. Sounds a little smitten.
Yeah, I mean, he really acknowledged the fact that Nokia has got to take some control back of the U.S. market. And he knows that they don't have that now. And this is the market that they need to get their foot back in a bigger way that they are now. And he came from Microsoft. I don't know. Yeah. All paths lead to this being the very logical resolution that's coming tomorrow. So
yeah, I also think it's a good step for Microsoft as well to be able to get their Windows 7 platform out to the rest of the world in a big way, because Nokia does have a big footprint internationally, even though it might be losing ground here in the U.S. Additionally, I'm wondering, if this offer, I mean, there was, you made the comment earlier, Tom, about, Google and Microsoft offering hundreds of millions to abandon MeeGo and Symbian. But do you really think that it's going to be like we're going Windows 7 all the way? We're going to abandon our own OSs? Or, are we just going, are they going to use Windows 7 to get them into the domestic market here a little bit more firmly? And then in the meantime, continue to develop MeeGo to make it a stronger OS while they kind of let Symbian die off?
Well, again, we're reading tea leaves here, right? And we won't really know until 3 a.m. Pacific time Friday. But if you look at those tea leaves closely, you'll see tea. That's all I'm going to say about it. No, when he's talking about the burning platform, Nokia's main platform has been MeeGo. That has been the platform they have been building up. And you combine that with the news that Nokia is abandoning development of their only MeeGo phone.
Right.
Now, that alone doesn't mean that they wouldn't start developing MeeGo on another phone, but burning platform, abandoning, and at the end of the burning platform memo, he talks about abandoning the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact,
I know it sounds like ridiculously overparsing, but I think it's very possible that they won't abandon Symbian because Symbian is too important on their feature phones, but for smartphones, they might go whole hog Windows Phone 7.
yeah, I mean, he said word for word in his memo, we thought Migo was going to be a platform for winning high-end smartphones, and at this rate, by the end of this year, we might only have one Migo product on the market. Not even might. And it's the beginning of 2011 now, so.
Yeah, exactly. I think Nokia should hook up with Yahoo and spread peanut butter all over that burning platform.
Oh my gosh, not a visual. I will never get those 2 seconds back.
Facebook phone is here. Well, that'll drive it out of your mind. INQ was trotting around Silicon Valley's blogs showing off the INQ Cloud Touch, which is the smaller of 2 Facebook phones. They're not calling them Facebook phones, but they are essentially that. The INQ Cloud Touch will feature Facebook newsfeed front and center. You can flip through status updates, photos, videos, and shared articles. And then there are 4 buttons across the top that are Facebook specific: people, events, notifications, and places. We have on the video version of TNT, we have a video from TechCrunch where someone from INQ is kind of running through the features for them, and you can see. I mean, this is the phone when you turn it on. It's all about Facebook.
But it's not like a cheapo feature phone. I mean, it's a smartphone. It's just built around Facebook, which is, I mean, if it's a feature phone that's a Facebook dominated phone, that's one thing. But this is like a smartphone that's so Facebook specific, and we don't know what the price is. I don't know. What would you pay for something like? I don't want it to be Facebook specific. If it's, I'll just use a Facebook
Aren't
app.
they saying it's going to be fairly inexpensive? That with with special deals for contracts and stuff, that we're looking at, a phone for teenagers. We're looking at a phone that's pretty affordable.
Yeah, they were speculating prices of $50, but
yeah,
we don't know for sure. And that would be for the Touch. The INQ Cloud Q is essentially the same phone with a little bigger screen and a QWERTY keyboard. The INQ Cloud Touch, the smaller one, is coming to Europe in May and later to the U.S. And the bigger one, the INQ Cloud Q, is coming in Q3. The other interesting thing about it is they replaced Android's music application with Spotify. We don't have Spotify here in the U.S. yet.
Yeah, I mean, Spotify it's become the next Duke Nukem. It's
Here in the US,
It's
it
the
is, yeah.
service that keeps getting promised, and now we just say, "You're crying wolf, get out of here." I mean, I actually expect Spotify to make it here one day,
Right.
but it might not beat this phone.
And if INQ did launch here with Spotify, you could still play local music. You just wouldn't get the added streaming aspect of Spotify.
Which is kind of the cool part of Spotify.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know. I just bought a Verizon iPhone, so I'm not in the market. But this is going to appeal to somebody.
Yeah, you can sell that one to Leo or Lisa and go buy an INQ.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually am selling the Verizon iPhone to Lisa.
Some of the integration seems pretty interesting as well. I mean, you mentioned that this is a smartphone. One thing I noticed is that they've got integration between Facebook events and dates in basically your Facebook calendar that would integrate with the Google Android calendar.
Yeah.
So that there's complete integration so that events automatically end up in your date book, so you know what's going on.
But it's still so much emphasis on Facebook, which
Yeah.
I immediately go, no. I want it to be under my control if I'm using Facebook or not. I don't want my activity to be going through Facebook because it's such a big part of my phone. That said, there are a lot of people who use Facebook exclusively as their social network and would be thrilled to have something like this that made their lives even easier.
And I bet there's somebody, there's some deal out there like the golden ticket from Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. You buy the right phone and Mark Zuckerberg calls you personally on it.
And you have to you get a discount for that happening.
Exactly.
because it's an awkward
second prize
conversation.
is 2 calls from Mark Zuckerberg.
With a lot of fast sentences strung together that make you uncomfortable.
And then you're like, wait, this is just Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah. Stop calling me Jesse.
I need to
Stop asking for money.
Stop spamming me, Jesse. I don't get your spams anyway because I use MailRoute. Tech News Today is brought to you by MailRoute.info. Listen, short version, You don't want spam? Go to mailroute.info. You get
spam.
10% off the life of your account. Do you really need to know more than that? I mean, yeah, you have to edit an MX record to get somebody to edit it for you. It's $2 per user per month for small businesses, or it's $30 for a single user for a year. But really, just it works. And you don't have to take my word for it. Go try it. Mailroute.info gets rid of viruses and spam. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Apple TV might become a gaming machine. That is according to some sources for Engadget that uncovered code within iOS 4.3 Beta 3 referring to two things in particular, ATV Games and ATV Thunder. ATV obviously referring to Apple TV. ATV Games, well, what we're showing on the video right now is a little bit ahead of what we were showing, although I like that they're using TWiT shows.
Yeah, no kidding.
ATV Games is has a couple of references to the ability to play games and store games. ATV Thunder has things like appletv.play.live.thunder and play.archive.thunder. So there's some speculation this could refer to an actual live gaming system because there's not a lot of storage on the current Apple TV. So it could be an on-live type thing.
Aha. So what? So this might be. It's not just like, oh, if I'm playing a game, then I can stream it to my big TV and then cut the rope that way. This is actually like a get online, like an Xbox, really, but going through your Apple TV, or at least in theory.
Also references to something called Sedona and something called Flagstaff. Sedona refers to director, episode, and season, so probably about video merchandising. And Flagstaff refers to account types and merchandising, so we don't know what those mean. But with the video that's embedded on the Engadget shows another thing they uncovered by using a Logitech Harmony remote instead of the Apple TV, that they could make icons wiggle in the way they wiggle before you delete them, and then by using the arrow keys once they're wiggling, reorder stuff, which they think could be an indication of some App Store type functionality for the Apple TV.
Well, I mean, it's just a matter of time, right? I mean, the Apple TV, it's kind of clear that Apple called it a hobby for a long time, but there are significant things going on behind the scenes to make the Apple TV something that everybody wants. And they're going to have to get into the gaming game, for lack of a better word, to capture the interest of a lot of folks.
They're in it on phones and iPod Touches. Exactly. And they're scaring the crap out of Nintendo with that.
Yeah.
So
Nintendo said, those app games are too cheap and suck.
Haven't had a really new console in years. Apple comes out and says, hey, buy the Apple TV. You can watch videos. You can stream them live. You can rent movies. And
you can play Angry Birds.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's all I got to say, right?
Yeah, massively multiplayered Angry Birds.
Those three little words. Play Angry Birds.
Game Center. Now in your entertainment center.
Valentine's Day's coming up. All right, another Apple rumor to get out of the way. According to John Gruber at Daring Fireball and MG Sigler at TechCrunch, Apple is going to have an iPad 3. That's right. I didn't say 2. I said 3. John Gruber referred to an iPad 3 kind of off the cuff when talking about WebOS tablet, the HP touchpad coming out in the summer, said it could be bumping up against iPad 3. Everybody went crazy. He clarified and said he thinks it's more like an iPad 2.5. It would hit in November and would just be an attempt to move yearly release dates closer to holiday buying. MG Sigler over at TechCrunch says his sources are telling him that Apple will have a fall surprise that will mean a third iPad, and it possibly would be a smaller form factor.
So the 2.5 would come around April as expected.
The 2 would come around April.
The 2, yes, would come around April as expected. See, it's very hard to 2.5. 2.7, when's the 2.7 coming out?
That one's in December, yeah.
So that would be the iPad 2 is what everybody has been, I mean, it's all but confirmed, really, what the iPad 2 is going to be.
I know,
like.
Apple hasn't said a single thing about it, but we know every little piece of information.
It's like, it's gone beyond speculation, too. This is what's happening. And then, it has its day in the sun for just a few months, and then there's a completely new iPad that's expected to come out. I mean, I read this stuff, and I talk about speculation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ifs and maybes.
A lot of caveats in this, a lot of unnamed sources, a lot of, maybes, and John Gruber saying, this is just a guess.
Right.
I do think that if Apple were to come out with a 7-inch tablet, that it would be right for them to come out with it in September. September is their iPod release party, and that party is not as fun as it used to be.
Right.
You know, I mean, the iPod Touch gets a refresh, but nobody gets that excited about it. So if they had like an iPad Mini or an iPad Nano or something like that to show off, a 7-inch tablet could have a Retina display. It wouldn't eat out of the iPad marketplace as much. It would be paced so, you know, they wouldn't cannibalize each other's sales. But let's not forget, Dr. Kiki's laughing over there.
I am laughing. I just have little internal jokes going on in my head.
Steve Jobs has said 7-inch is dead on arrival.
Yeah, he doesn't like it.
Yeah. So he said there's nothing to that. Now, he's also said there's no reason to put video on an iPod and we'll never make a phone. So sometimes when he says something like that, it's almost a confirmation that they will do it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's misdirection. It's getting you to think in another direction, going, oh, well, Steve Jobs doesn't approve, so obviously they're not going to do it. When getting their product line, increasing the product line, especially in time for the holidays, might actually make a lot of sense.
Also, you know, Ron Richards and I just talked about this on iPad today, but it's like, of all the hopes and dreams that people had for the iPad 2 that won't be out in the next version, or apparently won't be out in the next version, for them to be included in the iPad 3, if that's indeed what it's even going to be called, can get people excited about it again. Because, you know, it sounds like the next version of the iPad. If you're looking to get an iPad, this is okay. It's better than, you know, Gen 1. It's the 3GS to the 3G kind of thing. But it's not, you know, the equivalent of the iPhone 4 where it really, you know, took to the next level. So that would be a really great thing for them to have in their back pocket in September, even if it was the same size.
A nice autumnal announcement.
Exactly.
Guitar Hero is dead. Activision Blizzard had their earnings call. Activision CEO Eric Hirschberg said they're stopping development on not only True Crime Hong Kong, but all music games, including Guitar Hero. And Activision will lay off 7% of its staff. That's about 500 people. They're going to refocus all of their efforts on Call of Duty and the Blizzard games like World of Warcraft and StarCraft. All of this because overall revenue was up in 2010, profit quadrupled over 2009, and they posted smaller losses in the fourth quarter than they did in 2009. So obviously they need to kill a lot of product lines and lay off people.
They do say that they expect revenue to be lower, $3.95 billion,
right.
so a little short of the $4 billion mark that they had last year this year. So it's some obvious forward thinking, but I mean they're shifting direction.
Yeah, you're right, Lane.
Guitar Hero 3 was panned by many who had loved the Guitar Hero franchise. I mean, there's got to be Rock Band eating into that significantly. I mean, Guitar Hero was such a big deal, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And then Rock Band came along, and it's like, oh, now we can all play different instruments. Guitar Hero was kind of a one-note game.
Rock Band's dying too, though.
Yeah.
MTV Games is out.
I think there's a novelty aspect to some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, the Wii games. It's the same idea where it's like you're participatory, and then you just don't want to do it anymore.
I should do a level of dust measure on my Rock Band drum set and my Nintendo Wii and see which one is higher.
You know, during the Super Bowl, one of you or Eileen had posted a picture of like one of your dogs, and I noticed those drums in the corner of your living room, and I thought to myself, wonder when's the last time those drums got pulled out and actually used. Not recently, I guess.
Not recently.
No.
All right.
R.I.P. Guitar Hero.
Finally, Wall Street Journal reports low-level acquisition talks between Twitter and Google, as well as Twitter and Facebook. This report also estimates that Twitter's value is being tossed around as high as $10 billion. Meanwhile, Facebook is exploring permitting a tender offer for $1 billion of employee shares at a $60 billion valuation. That's $10 billion more than the last valuation we had of Facebook, which was $50 billion. So Twitter is worth a sixth of Facebook?
It's possible. I'm actually interested in this story. Twitter has been a target of Google and Facebook's for a really long time as a result of the massive amount of data that it contains. All of the users, all the information about the users for anyone who's creating an ad network, which Google and Facebook both are, and they're competing with each other. It's going to make Twitter highly, highly valuable for the amount of information that it's going to contain. Additionally, for search value. And, if Google wants something, Facebook's going to go, I want it first, and vice versa, vice versa.
I mean, even Mark Zuckerberg has admitted I paid too close attention to Twitter in the past. I mean, Twitter is, it's not some little guy trying to keep up with Facebook. I mean, they are on the up and up. I mean, their user base grows exponentially. That said, to have a 10 billion valuation when last year their revenue was like under 50 million.
Right, and they're only expecting...
They're looking at 100 million this year, right?
They're looking at 100 million, but that is, that's potential revenue based on ad initiatives that they haven't even rolled out yet. Their ideas, their whole trending topics and sponsored tweets. They just started experimenting with that last year. They've gotten really good feedback, but this is just what they expect to be bringing in. I mean, they don't actually even have a proven track record of 1 year yet.
I think it'd be a huge mistake for Twitter to sell themselves right now. I think that's why these reports are low-level talks. They sort of have to do due diligence if somebody comes knocking saying, hey, we'd be interested in a partnership here, a little acquisition merger strategy, but they don't have to take it seriously. And none of these reports say they are.
These kinds of articles kind of irk me because it's like, I mean, everyone's always having low-level talks. Low-level talking, that's happening all the time.
Except for Nokia and Microsoft.
Yeah, except Nokia and Microsoft might be more of a mid-level talk.
How much you want for that Verizon iPhone? Let's have a low-level talk.
Let's have a low-level talk and just talk about the potential of you buying it off me, even though we know that it's not for sale.
Yeah. Because you already sold it.
Yeah, I gave it to somebody else, actually. Google. Google bought my Verizon iPhone.
On to the news fuse. Speaking of Google, they're extending two-factor authentication to all users, increasing your security options to keep you locked up tight when you use your Gmail and your Google Docs and all of that. If you choose the option in your settings, you'll be required to not only enter a password, something you know, but also enter a code delivered to your phone by either SMS, a call, or on an app. That would be the something you have, two-factor authentication. This would allow you to log in. If you were to lose your phone, or somehow, your phone number got taken away because you didn't pay your bill or something, you can set up a backup phone number and, as a last resort, answer what they call tough-to-answer security questions as a last chance to log in.
It's probably a good thing to exercise once it becomes available. Maybe a little bit of a hassle, but...
It's a little bit of a hassle, but if you are worried about security of Gmail, it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. I've got good news for Sprint Nextel. Customer retention has finally improved to the point where the carrier is able to report actual gains in postpaid subscribers rather than losses. Sprint said that it added 1.1 million total wireless subscribers and 58,000 of them two-year contract customers. Or for the quarter, Sprint added almost 1.1 million wireless subscribers, its best showing in nearly 5 years. All that and David Blaine. Things
That's
are looking
right.
up for Sprint.
Wow.
Sprint
Is David Blaine a positive?
on the up and up.
In case you were wondering, installing a camera in your skull is a headache. Literally. Last autumn, NYU professor Wafa Bilal had a camera implanted in the back of his head for a year-long art project. Now he has been forced to have part of the device removed early because, his body rejected it. Yeah, that's what your body does. According to the Chronicle of Higher Education, the camera uploaded a shot every 60 seconds to thirdeye.me, which was then projected on screens at a museum in Doha, Qatar.
Speaking at a Department of Homeland Security event, Bill Woodcock. Fight Bill Woodcock. Actually, I know Bill Woodcock. I should say. He's a nice guy. Bill Woodcock, research director of the Packet Clearinghouse, reported that Egypt shut down the internet not by phoning ISPs, but by simply throwing a switch at the Ramses Exchange Data Center in Cairo. The report also suggested that the ISP Noor escaped the shutdown not because it was hosting the Egyptian Stock Exchange, but because they weren't connected to the exchange data center, and it was harder to track them down. Intelligence sources were trying to find them to get them to turn it off.
Oh, boy. Last week, anonymous hackers broke into servers for HB Gary in retaliation over threats to reveal the names of some anonymous members. You might have heard us talk about this. The hackers released 50,000 or so emails from HB Gary, including a slide presentation proposing a series of dirty tricks against WikiLeaks and its supporters. Targeted attacks on Salon's Glenn Greenwald, infrastructure attacks, disinformation campaigns, and sabotage were all proposed. There's no indication that Bank of America signed off on this plan.
No indication.
No.
Well, Facebook announced this week it will begin enforcing a policy that requires app developers to run advertising from a list of approved providers. The list is not short. It includes 40-some options, but it notably does not include Google's AdSense and DoubleClick.
Ooh, burn on you.
That's right.
Micron Technology tomorrow is set to disclose a hybrid memory technology that it claims will boost performance 20-fold over memory chips used in PCs today. The secret sauce is the memory controller that's been added to the memory, Micron says, by putting a logic layer, which is actually a controller chip. They were able to overcome the bottleneck by crafting a higher speed bus that will go from that controller chip to the CPU. So look for lower power, higher memory, cheaper devices soon.
I like everything about that. President Obama has announced a plan to free up 500 megahertz of spectrum in the U.S. by allowing current spectrum holders to share in the profits from selling it. The rest of the money would be used to invest in 4G for rural areas and build out nationwide public safety network. The whole operation would pay for itself, and the government has identified 115 megahertz of its own spectrum it can free up without cost. 4G in rural areas.
And it pays for itself?
What's not to like?
Everybody's going to go, yeah, sure, it pays for itself. But I think it really does this time.
Yeah, I mean, the hidden costs are not evident to me.
Yeah. All right, let's finish up with not only the cheap memory that is going to save us all, but ultra-tiny nanocircuits that will allow us to have low power using tiny machines, tiny consumer electronics. This is a huge advance in chips, right, Kiki?
Yeah, this is a huge advance. I mean, it's still in the research stage, but getting it to a point where it's reproducible and efficient is right around the corner. This is a major advance. They can be programmed, these little tiny nanocircuits that can be built, differently from circuits that are built currently, which are built from the top down. These would be built from the bottom up, basically almost organically, where they would sometimes self-organize to create these little tiny nanocircuits. They could be programmed electronically to perform basic math and logic functions. The principal investigator, Charles Lieber, says this work represents this quantum jump forward in the complexity and functions of circuits built from the bottom up, and thus demonstrates this paradigm, which is distinct from the way commercial circuits are built today, can yield nanoprocessors and other integrated systems of the future.
Grassroots nanocircuits, bottom up, organized.
Bottom up.
Kiki, when you say right around the corner, when you're in a research phase like this, I mean, what does right around the corner mean? A year, 10 years, 2 months?
I would probably give it 5 years.
Okay.
That's where I would go. I mean, they're in the
That's a research mindset right around the corner, right?
Yeah. I mean, you've got the time right now. You've got the research that they're showing that it's possible. They're doing basic processing and programming with these circuits, but they need to be able to get it to a point that they can do it over and over and over again on a very large scale. They're getting there. So once they get to the application stage, it's going to take a couple of years to get out of the lab into the actual manufacture and development stage. So 5 years, maybe 10, but I would put it closer to 5 probably.
Kind of puts things into perspective, Startups like, we got to get this out next month, where everyone will have forgot about us already. Scientists are like, give us 5 years. We want to make sure
Right around the
right.
corner. It's only 5 years away.
5 years. You're only going to be 5 years older. What could possibly happen in 5 years?
Yeah.
Should we move on to the calendar?
Le calendrier.
Okay, so there was this really big, crazy release that everyone had been talking about that happened today.
Oh, yeah, everybody knows about this.
Oh yeah,
right,
yeah.
yeah,
It's if for some reason you've been hiding under a rock and you have no idea, the feature complete IE9 release candidate from Microsoft is now available for public downloading at www. www.beautyoftheweb.com. God, I can't
People
even
are
say that
lining
without
up at beautyoftheweb.com.
Beauty of the web. It's like you're on candid camera, but you're not. I'm not even kidding. But you might have thought I was talking about another release, and that happened
Oh, was
too.
there another one?
Yeah, I know this because I was at the Apple Store at 6 a.m. this morning.
Oh, right.
Without anyone else.
I remember that.
I was one of 3 people, and
I was
the
here
other 2
drinking
were
coffee.
our camera people. Yeah, you were. You were up early too.
I was up
mean,
early.
in all fairness, a bunch of us had to get up early. A few of us went down to the flagship store down in San Francisco, and there were literally 2 men ahead of me in line, and a lot of reporters taking pictures of each other.
Yep.
And that's the way it goes. There were a few more people at the Verizon store around the corner, but not more than about 40 people. So it's a very civilized process.
Yes.
I think it just goes to show if you don't have a new product, the carrier, people don't get all up in arms and excited about a carrier.
It was a serene launch.
Yeah.
Yes. 3D 24/7 3D channel launches this weekend, but only on DirecTV. Tom, you have DirecTV.
I do, but I don't have 3D service because I don't have a 3D TV. So I can't
yeah.
get 3net.
Yeah.
Do you still get the channel even though your TV can't receive it?
No.
No.
No, it's you got to pay for the tier. It's like HD channels used to be the same way. You have to pay for the HD package. Well, they still are. You pay for the HD package, then you get them.
I wonder how many of the advertisements are going to be for like headache medicine.
That's funny. Yeah. Have you been to the eye doctor lately?
Head on. Apply directly to the forehead.
That's right.
Or check to make sure you don't have a camera implanted in your head.
Yeah, how those glasses? We got better ones. If you're into net neutrality, and you should certainly be following it, the House Subcommittee has scheduled a hearing for February 16th to talk about what's next for us.
Well,
in
to
net
talk about
neutrality.
overturning the FCC guidelines on net neutrality. That's essentially what the Congress people are like all excited about.
Right.
We're going to stop this.
We don't like the FCC making decisions. Let's make our own decisions.
I just wonder how many of them really understand what net neutrality is all about. HP Pre 2 is available to pre-order for $100 on Verizon, shipping out Feb 17th.
Only $100.
Yeah. It's funny, you rarely see it 100.
I
It's
might
like
do that.
99 or 129 or
How much is it unlocked? $450 unlocked. Well, not unlocked, but $450 without contract.
just 100 Benjamins. You've got that in your back pocket.
I might do that.
There's a new word that Windows Phone 7's copy and paste update, the long-awaited update, is now going to arrive on March 8th. That would be, a welcome.
Well, we've had
welcome
we've had
addition.
rumors of December, January, and February, so we need a March rumor.
Yeah. Is this
Keep
the
it
new
going.
Duke Nukem?
This is actually
Windows Phone 7's copy and paste is the new Spotify.
already. We've run through this twice now.
All right, so the 16-gigabyte BlackBerry Playbook is priced at $499 and is heading to Office Depot in March or early April. And it's been previously reported will also come to Staples as well. Staples and Office Depot. Which one do you choose?
If only I had $1,000 that I didn't have anything else to do with, I would buy a non-contract HP Pre 2 and a BlackBerry Playbook.
Oh, you're rich. You can buy whatever you want.
Oh, you're rich. Stop pretending,
Just
Merritt.
write it off.
You're from old money. I could write it off.
It's a business
I
write-off.
love it when people
You're
say that.
testing
It's
things
like,
out.
writing something off doesn't mean you get it for free.
Right. You still have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. On to the voicemails. 260-TNT Show is the phone number to leave us one, or you can email us an attachment like Onk did with a little bit of insight into how Alien Dalvik works to run those Android apps on non-Android devices.
Hey there, TNT crew. Just a note about this whole Alien Dalvik thing. My understanding with Dalvik was that it was actually running as a virtualization system in Android. And that's why when they upgraded the Dalvik JIT, I believe it was called, in switching to Android 2.2, that made the entire phone much faster than Nicholas 1, which was the first one to get it. Anyway, so I don't think it's really fair to say that this Alien Dalvik thing, oh, well, it's virtualization, because the whole system is virtualization, so it should be fine. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
All right. That makes sense. Thanks, Onk. He's basically saying that it won't run any differently on another platform than it does because it works similar to something like Java ME. So it's not like it's virtualization the way VMware is virtualization on a Mac. So thanks for the clarification.
Thanks, Onk.
On to the emails, TNT@twit.tv. Matt B says, hi, everyone. I just wanted to clarify a couple things about current console mods. First of all, the Xbox 360 can be hacked with a mod chip. However, this is not what most people mod their 360 DVD drives with these days. The most common mod is a modified DVD firmware file that needs to be flashed to that specific drive because each 360 has a unique key flashed to the motherboard and DVD drive that is essential for proper functionality. In regards to the PS3 hacks, he wanted to point out that it was at first a USB dongle that jailbroke PS3s, and George Hutt's big advance was a firmware hack that didn't require the dongle. FYI, he says there are very few games on any current console that have dedicated servers that let you choose which servers you can play on. No current games in the past year or two come to mind.
He also says he loves the show.
Oh, well, thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt B. Next email comes from Tommy in Kingston, Ontario. Hey, folks. You know, if you asked me a week ago if I thought HP would ever ship desktops without Windows, I would have laughed. The other day, I was by a local office store, and they had one of HP's Smart Touch PCs on display. I thought the UI on screen was an image until I touched it. A good 10, 15 minutes later, it dawned on me that the UI I'd been playing with was something on top of Windows and that my taskbar and system tray were missing. And I was floored, not only because of how fun the touch was, but because I'd used something other than Windows for so long without even realizing it. Keeping in mind that this was the Touch Smart app on top of Windows 7 and not WebOS, I think I'd be okay with a Touch OS on a desktop. After all, what's the local OS got to do these days anyway, except launch a browser? He also says he's loving the show.
That's pretty cool, actually. I thought this was an interesting observation that you could sort of get lost in that, because I was scoffing at the idea of WebOS being on top of Windows 7. Like, who needs another UI? But he's right about the Touch Smart. A lot of people don't like the Touch Smart, but the UI isn't all that bad.
Yeah, it's interesting.
High praise, I know.
Yeah, it's funny when you start. You've been using something and you're like, wait a second. Hey, this is not what I thought it was, and I'm really enjoying myself. Yeah. I've been duped, but now I'm happy.
It's good when you're duped into being happy.
Yes.
An additional email from Curtis B. An interesting addendum to the ho-hum launch today. Perhaps states that had very spotty AT&T coverage is where all the action will be. The one quote from the Verizon Regional Public Relations Manager in Montana is quite interesting. Bob Kelly, Regional Public Relations Manager for Verizon, said Wednesday that his store managers in Montana were too busy with the pre-iPhone rush to give interviews to the Associated Press. Because of the costs with breaking contracts, we have been looking in the wrong areas, New York, San Francisco, for where the real action is going to be. Montana, the Dakotas, etc.
Great point, Curtis P. Because you couldn't, well, you could buy an iPhone, but you couldn't use it in North Dakota because AT&T didn't have any coverage there. That was a big deal, especially when the first Edge iPhone came out. The very first iPhone came out. People were like, oh, well, I can't even buy this. I can't even use this. I can't even make calls with it. There were some roaming agreements in there, and there are some exceptions to that. But this is now an area that is officially covered by Verizon. So they can buy an iPhone and use it. So it makes sense that there, it's like they're getting the iPhone for the first time.
Yeah.
And you get bigger lines and lots of crowds.
Which is, I mean, for all of the complaining that I've done, and really I'm not even complaining as much as some other folks, but there are definitely dead streets in my neighborhood where I'm like, oh, this is the part where my AT&T iPhone goes dead and I get no bars. I mean, imagine if your entire town and the next town over had no coverage at all. I mean, that's an actual problem, not an inconvenience.
So, yeah.
Right.
Did either of you happen to see Becky Worley's tweet today? She did a test driving 40 miles with an iPhone and with a Verizon iPhone and the AT&T iPhone, both dialed into landlines. She said that it dropped, the Verizon phone dropped once, the AT&T dropped 4 times.
That all depends on where you drive, though. That's sort of a very unscientific test, because I've had an AT&T phone
data point,
and I've driven the 280 from San Jose to San Francisco and back again over and over and over again over many years, and I know exactly where the one drop point is there.
Where is it?
It's like right on that Bunker Hill exit. When you come up, your call drops. Plus, there could be other reasons calls drop from here to there. So, I mean, love Becky Worley, obviously, but
of course,
I wouldn't wouldn't
It's
take
not.
too
It's
much
not
out of it.
proof of anything, but
Yeah.
it's just an It's an interesting little point.
I don't know if you know about science, Kiki.
Nothing.
What does
at all.
doctor stand for anyway?
I don't know.
What's the doctor and Dr.
It's like a
Kiki all
nickname.
about? Yeah.
Kiki.
One day you'll get it. You'll understand science.
Exactly. The PhD. It just means I have a good foot in my mouth.
Actually, we got to get out of here so Dr. Kiki's Science Hour can record.
Yay.
Don't miss it. Find it online at twit.tv, like you can find what we do online at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Our email address is tnt@twit.tv, or you can even call us. One of these days, I'm going to forward it to my phone and just freak someone out and answer. 260-TNT show. Could be you. See you tomorrow.
I started a little off pitch, but I think I ended well.
You were a
think
little
you
pitchy,
saved
but you
it?
worked it out.
I'll do
know.
some pitch correction.
I'm a terrible
Upstairs
whistler.
and-